Oh, man. Oh, geez. Oh, God. Here we are. It is Inside the PFL. Season 8. Week 5. I'm your former champion, El Zubador, Joe. Joined back by the Deputy Director of Entertainment, Mario.
Hello.
Mario, this season, this week, week 5, this was a very eventful week for many reasons, one of which being, of course, that all of the games played over the broadcast, which was a lovely experience. It was wonderful, and we thank everybody for coming out, of course, as well as you getting your ass kicked, and that's why you are now demoted to Deputy Director of Entertainment.
Yep. That's all I got for that. You got a good old yep.
Got a good old yep. Gonna sandbag it completely. That's fine. What did you think of week 5, other than, of course, that embarrassing loss?
I was glad we were actually able to broadcast all the battles.
Yeah, hopefully we can continue to follow in that form here. So I don't know if you'd call this redundant necessarily, but no, we're gonna take a look at a little deeper insight into the battles. It was a shorter week, of course, only 4 battles. So we're aiming slightly high. 3 to 4 should probably be the number of battles that we do normally. But let's go ahead and get right into it here, as all of the X's take a few seconds to load because there's so many fucking things on this page. The first battle we had was, of course, Tristan over James +3. Now, I did note at the time, James has 1 win under his belt currently. James has the distinct possibility, when he's not running a joke team, to miss the playoffs after a loss like this. And I mean, it's an understandable loss too. I'm not saying that he played badly, that things happened that were out of his control, RNG, things like that. Because Tristan obviously is having a very good season thus far, but how does it feel? Like I saw, I'm sure you saw, I made the stats sheet last week. James, much like Manny, is somebody who almost never misses the playoffs. So what do you think about this development?
I kind of feel bad. I don't know. It's just bad matchups or something. It's just, Doesn't make much sense to me. He's got a really good team. He knows what he's doing.
No, for certain.
Click.
Oh, hopefully. I mean, we still got. There's all right. I'm not calling foul yet. He still has at least 4 more matches. He can.
Yeah, don't count him.
No, I'm not. We've seen people from the started from the bottom. Now the whole crew fucking here. It can happen.
Yeah.
Never say never. But let's talk about the battle itself, of course. Tristan getting the big +3 over James. Speaking of big, Mario. You noted. Tristan got himself a big team.
A big team. It's hard to get around.
A big team. So, and James did try to find ways around that. He had what seemed like we've talked before. Starmie is a Pokemon that is bigger than it looks, bigger than it would be. It just has, some weaknesses because of the water psychic combo.
Yeah, with no investment, it's hard to tell that, but it is surprisingly bulky.
Can be bulky. Hippowdon played a great role in that match of being a big bulky boy, which is, it seemed at certain points that Tristan wasn't going to be able to get around Hippowdon. He didn't have a lot that could break the 50% barrier.
No.
And, I mean, that's kind of what you get. You bring Cofagrigus. It's not really, like, Hex on Cofagrigus. I like that he's kind of used that as a set for that, the Willow and the Hex. But, you saw I was doing, like, 38% to him. I wasn't doing a lot.
No.
There were Mons that, just couldn't get over the gap there.
Like, he couldn't get the hump.
They couldn't get over the hump, you're right. And really, just Trick Room played a big part in it. We've talked, Tristan has a Trick Room, like almost 100% Trick Room, everything other than Lando, who is, of course, there for the instances that Trick Room is not up. But James...
Safety net.
Yeah, safety net. James also played around Trick Room fairly well, I think. He brought things like Taunt. He brought things like Protect. He was trying to burn those turns, but unfortunately couldn't be overcome.
I feel like if anyone would be able to get around Trick Room, it would be someone who's done very well with Trick Room in the past.
That too. That's the other thing. James ran Trick Room Season 2, I believe.
Yes.
And it was and Taunt was his undoing in the finals.
Yes.
He needed an opportunity to make it happen, and it just didn't happen.
No.
Well,
I was trying to say this before when we were talking about it. I couldn't really pinpoint the moment where the match slipped for him.
No, I mean, the only thing that I would say, and this is just, team building is one thing, but, and, when you're running a match with a timer, you don't have time to run the calcs or anything, but of course we all saw during the broadcast itself, Lucario is in against Mega Camerupt, and you choose to nasty plot that turn. You think something big's coming, because here you are at 1%, Lucario's decently fast, at least faster than a lot of the, everything other than Lando, pretty much, and you use +2 Dark Pulse, which against Mega Camerupt. I mean, Lucario doesn't have a ton for Mega Camerupt, I would say. Nothing super out there. So, even then, like you had said, if he did like Aura Sphere, or I don't know, Lucario probably gets... Well, you wouldn't want to do Flash Cannon. But if you did Aura Sphere, at least, that could have done something.
I feel like he miscalled a switch there is all it was.
That's possible. He could have thought that, it was going to be something like an Aura Sphere, and he thought Reuniclus was coming in, which did not happen.
No. But that's the illogical thing I can think of, which is, at that point, when you're already faster, you might as well have just hit the Aura Sphere. Even if they switched in, then you go for the Dark Pulse.
Right, and
right away.
Yeah, you want to do at least some chip too, because at that point too, you're also faster than Reuniclus, so you may as well go for it.
Yeah, that's the only real moment where I was like, come on, what are you doing?
The other problem, and this is just something that I guess you just don't end up expecting. Starmie was key in that match, and James needed it alive, but unfortunately, everybody loves the Life Orb. They do. The Life Orb's great. In the right circumstances. In one of these scenarios where you're putting yourself on a timer with your most important Pokemon in the match, it just ends up like little things like using Ice Beam instead of just like a Scald or something, like a neutral Scald, and like things that come in resisting, and like you're taking more and more life orb damage, and it's just not good.
Yeah, I remember at the time we were talking about that like while it was happening.
Yeah, I think that overall, James, and this is, I think, exactly the reason that I think I had said James requested specifically for Tristan to be in the division with him. So I don't know if he sees something great in that young man moving forward, but only time will tell, as Supergroup Asia would say. And I gotta add in, of course, as well. # love that reuni. Ooh, Reuniclus was good in that match. He was not expecting the Focus Blast killing Incineroar. That's another thing. Cheston and Incineroar got made fairly short work of in the match as well. Thanks mostly to one of my favorite... Well, I don't want to say one of my favorite Mons, but a Mon that played very well for me, Reuniclus, with Regenerator as well. Always great. And you just tech Focus Blast on there, and suddenly Incineroar is not a problem anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's...
disgusting.
It can be very disgusting, especially in Trick Room, especially when it can set up Trick Room.
Yeah.
Oops, I'm getting rid of the wrong text. Excuse me. Here we go.
I don't know where James's Assault Vest was, and I know that berry did come in clutch.
James is good with those berries, but in this circumstance...
It seems to me like maybe he... I don't know. I don't know. Incineroar didn't do much in the beginning. Assault Vest might have been a little better for him later on.
Well, we've got next here Manny's 3 weeks of hell coming to an end, serving Garrison his first loss of the season. Garrison ran some of his strats by me before the match, and I told him straight up, no, don't, because I kind of know what Manny's going to do. But then he did it anyway, and I tried to be as normal as possible. But Garrison's thought was, and this is where having the weather core can come in handy, because it was a lot of, I know Torkoal's coming, I know Venusaur's coming.
Exactly.
And then neither of them showed up.
Sometimes it's good just to have them just as a back pocket.
Right, and that's how they should be used. That's how people... I think it'd be useful for everybody to draft. I mean, obviously, it's not a small investment unless you're drafting Hail a lot of the times, but
yeah.
If you have 100 points, and like even something like Polytoad is 100 points, and there are a bevy of fucking innumerable amount of Swift Swimmers that you can get.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I back pocketed Ice once.
Yeah,
just to have prep for it. I didn't bring it.
Yeah, and you never ended up using it. And then Manny didn't really like using it either. It's kind of weird, the circumstance. I think
I used Ninetales like 3 or 4 times.
Just not with not with Ace Slash, unfortunately.
He's kind of easy to counter, which is why he's tiered so.
Right. And that's the way that Manny has his as well. You've got a fire type and you've got a grass type. So as much as I don't like the fact that Chlorophyll is only on grass types, you aren't doubling up like you would with Hail or Sand, possibly, unless you're getting Stoutland or Rain. So always a good thing to keep in mind. A lot of cheap, and by a lot of cheap I mean Gigalith is a cheap Sand setter. Gigalith and Stoutland. There you go. That's $200. Only a bit more expensive than Manny's thing of Venusaur and Ninetales.
Oh.
No, Torkoal, excuse me. He could have gotten Ninetales. So, keep that in mind, everybody. We probably... I don't know, maybe we should move Venusaur back up, because of that Chlorophyll potential. I don't even know why we moved it down. Either way, the match itself.
Well, Manny
made... move stuff down just so Manny could get it. That's probably what happened. Right under my goddamn nose. Right under my goddamn nose, and I didn't notice it.
I told you. I warned you. You gotta
give it to Manny though, because of the fucking the big dick plays in this match. The two things that come right to the forefront. First of all, Garrison loves sleep powder. We know this. He has used sleep powder effectively a lot. Manny watched the tape. He knew his opponent.
He read the book. He uses it to his own undoing.
He sends Crobat in, which we talked about. He didn't eventually lose Crobat because you don't know the sleep counter when you're slept normally, but he was able to just hit Sleep Talk on a sleeping Crobat who was only there really to just make it so Garrison couldn't sleep anything else.
Yeah, to initiate, because I asked them why do that instead of the goggles,
the safety goggles. Yeah,
it's like, so this way he forced him to initiate Sleep Claws.
Yeah, can't have him sleep anything else, which is that's just smart use of rules right there.
Yeah, that's Manny with over 9,000 IQ plays.
Even more than that, we had now we've seen before. Manny will occasionally bust out Banded, Shadow Claw, Latias, or something.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it doesn't work well for him. I'd say I'm going to say it's definitely a coin flip. I'd say.
Yeah.
Definitely a coin flip. Whereas this here could not have worked more perfectly.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this a little bit. So you got Keldeo. Keldeo is a very good special attacker. You send Keldeo in against something that it can do definitely a lot of damage to, like a Terrakion.
Just shut down Terrakion completely.
Exactly. And you look at those stabs, water fighting, and like, oh, I've got a grass poison type here. Let me just send in the best grass poison type there is, Mega Venusaur, and you see the swords dance. Now, wait a minute. We did mention Keldeo's attack, worse than Electrode's special attack, by the way, 72.
Oh, yeah.
Manny, for some reason, the calcs worked out in such a way that Manny needed several things to fall in his favor. One, that he could hit a swords dance. Two, that he had his calcs exactly right, and that three, for some reason, I don't know why Garrison would switch out, but, Z-Bounce, +2 Z-Bounce was a kill on Mega Venusaur. And
think about it, though. Just think about it, right?
Right.
Crook had one job in this match, and that was to cripple Terrakion.
Yes, to get him out of there basically every time.
8 to CC, right?
Right.
Down defense, down special defense, and down attack. Yes. At that point, once that is set up, the sack on Crocodile, the intentional sack, because he told us, he did this on purpose. You send in Keldeo. You know he's going to switch out. The perfect answer being Venusaur. You got your free swords dance. Then you think, oh, I could probably take a +2 waterfall or +2, I don't know, sacred sword. You hit him with that it's not that he needed all this stuff to happen like in coincidence. It's that he set it up knowing that this would happen.
And that's just basically next level book reading, I guess.
Exactly.
Honestly, when you see something, now maybe that's just something for people to take away. When you see something weird happen that can take multiple turns to set up, like a Keldeo using Swords Dance, maybe you get out of there. Maybe that's just me, though.
Yeah, mix it up.
You might think, you see, and maybe that's another thing. In the heat of the moment, you forget. When there's 2 Z captains, you don't know. You don't know what Keldeo has either. So you don't know if it's Keldeo. I don't remember if Manny brought his other Z captain, because coincidentally, I don't remember who everybody's 2 Z captains are.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to remember off the top of your head without looking at it.
But it was read like a book. That's all that needed to happen. And as I said to you before we started, Ditto didn't even come out. It didn't have to. It was there to play... there to play defense without needing to do anything defensive.
Yeah, it's always good to bring a back pocket Ditto.
Right. Back pocket Ditto, back pocket D-Bond. That's why Prankster D-Bond got moved up, because it's, I shouldn't say back pocket Chansey, but there are things that are guaranteed safe.
Yeah.
Ditto's pretty safe.
Prevents other things from happening.
Yes, a deterrent, if you will. As we've said hundreds of times. Now, I know that Prankster D-Bond on Mega Bennett was much more prevalent last season, so we're just like, oh, that's way worse than Ditto. Oh, I mean, Ditto...
No, as someone who got knocked out of the playoffs to get to the finals by Ditto, I don't need to... I know all too well what Ditto can do.
Ditto just changes your team comp. That's basically how it goes. You can't play the way you want to play if your opponent has Ditto.
Yeah.
Depending on your team, of course. So that one, big win for Manny. He's once again the only undefeated person. I shouldn't say once again. I think he's usually been out after about 3 or 4 weeks consistently, other than the one season where he went undefeated, of course, other than the finals.
Yeah.
But, oh, no, I shouldn't say other than the finals. He lost in the semifinals, I believe. Either way, neither here nor there.
Double scoff.
Next up, we've got Thomas. Thomas starting to show like he's Thomas. He's starting to do Thomas doing Thomas things, getting the +4 win over Gage here. I think he's found out, because this is at least 2, maybe 3 matches at this point, where it is led with Electros.
Yeah, because it's good.
Because it's good! It gets a lot of moves. You know, Mario, you had Electros. I had Electros. We're big fans of the guy because he's a fucking Swiss Army Pokemon.
I used Electros in cartridge.
Oh, well. Either way. Somebody else had Electros that did good work with it. I can't remember whom. Somebody did. But either way, you get the knockoff. You get the Drain Punch. You get the Giga Drain if you need it. You get the... You can run physical and special sets. You've got all the shit that you need.
Slow pivot.
Slow pivot. Can be great in there. Gage loves using Swampert, and he led Swampert. You have the fucking Giga Drain for that. It didn't really have much to deal with Muck, but and the Poison Touch from Muck actually did Electros pretty dirty in the match. But like you immediately, there's not much that's better. Like a fast Scout, like a Scarfed Volt Switch on Electrode or something, or Scarf U-turn on Azelf. Anything that's fast, that can be made faster the first turn, like anything that lets you either play against your opponent or force your opponent to play against you, turn 1 is where you want to be.
Exactly.
And Electros is very good for that. But possibly the most surprising thing that happened in this match, we were saying during the broadcast, you're setting up for Blacephalon. Blacephalon comes in. Finally time for it to do something. Shadow Ball's neutral, at least, against literally everything that Thomas has left. And he uses Flamethrower.
Yeah. Thomas... I don't know.
You feel like the Swampert switch is an obvious one there. And it's not like, Blacephalon died or anything as a result. It still was there at the end, but... Then it's just, Swampert versus Blastoise, a match where nobody moves, basically.
No. It just... I don't know. It would have been a 2-tap, you know what I mean? Like,
more than likely.
Shadow Ball would have been a 2-tap.
Yeah.
If we have to say for a win like this, for a match like this, if that's the only time where he did a really questionable move, good on him.
If that's the only complaint, that's a good match. You're right, because that's the thing is we thought it was going to be Blacephalon, and then of course Blastoise comes in, and at that point Gage's team was so run down that just all Blastoise needed to do was Scald.
Yeah, just be big.
Anyone.
Yeah, Blastoise putting in the work. Normal
Blastoise, right? Jesus.
We saying this since before we even started this draft. Just in competitive Pokemon in general, bulky water is invaluable.
I agree. I still like offensive water types, though.
Yeah. You can be offensive water all you want. Remember that Weasel sweep that you had?
Oh, yeah.
Or Floatzel. Was
Floatzel.
But still, though, bulky water. Like that, and that's what it does. It just sits there and takes hits.
We all remember that well, of course. Poor Rob. But we'll get there. Speaking of poor Rob. The last thing to talk about with this match, of course, Gage basically, I don't want to say giving up, defiant to the end, hitting the Disrespect Explosion, and not killing Blastoise.
Doing... What was it that you said before? Not doing the disrespectful amount of damage?
Getting the Disrespect Explosion, not getting the disrespectful kill.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Minior, you need that Shell Smash for it to be even halfway decent. I honestly would have just hit the Shell Smash anyway, because Blastoise, if it was hitting you with Scald, you're probably not dead. You're probably in the second form of Minior, and then at that point, I don't think you would have been able to turn it around completely, but it would have been.
Might have. You really
hey,
might have.
Minior's done it for me in random battles, but random battles are different, as we all know, of course. Either way, good win for Thomas. Not enough. What?
Good win for Thomas. Bad loss for Gage.
Bad loss for Gage. Speaking of bad losses and good wins, because Thomas's win put him almost ahead of Murphy, but unfortunately, Murphy plus 5 Rob. So Rob's in Rob form right now. I don't like shit talking him, but a lot of questionable things here. We talked before, James's loss was, it wasn't because of him playing bad. It was just because of things that happened.
Yeah.
Garrison's loss was him over-prepping, we'll say, for certain things. Gage's loss was... I don't really think him playing bad necessarily, a myriad of things, but getting worn down, not like doing a lot of switch. Gage switches a lot, I noticed too, but Rob's loss was purely Rob.
Yeah, it's bad flex. Just being too obvious and then not seeing that Murphy was going to be too obvious.
I don't know if Rob was trying to just catch Murphy on some things where it's just I'm going to catch him slipping here.
There was no catching. It was Rob made the obvious play, then Murphy made the obvious switch. Murphy clicked the obvious button. Rob didn't react to it like he should have.
I had said during the broadcast, turn 5 or whatever, when we knew a Willow was coming. Does Charizard come in and eat this Willow? Do you want it to come in this early? And it's not I say that, but at the time, rocks aren't up or anything. It's the perfect time for Charizard to come in.
Yeah.
So, things start off bad already because, Electrode leads off. I love my boy Electrode. You hit that taunt, suddenly you can't screens with Mesprit. And so we saw the screens where he had both Reflect and Light Screen and Rocks and Psyshock, I think, were his entire moveset. So, a interesting version of Mesprit, but couldn't really do much. And then once Charizard comes in, it starts Dragon Dancing, and then that's basically the match.
Yeah, there's really not much you could do.
Rob had opportunities to at least do damage, too, because, Snorlax comes in. I understand you were saying, you think Thick Fat might save you if he's got the Flare Blitz.
Shout out real quick to motherfucking Brick Charizard.
Brick Charizard made a return here, by the way. Yes, of course. Brick Charizard being the hero of Mario's team for one match.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But that wasn't... No, or was that Zardex?
Yeah, it was Zardex.
Yeah. Oh, literal Brick Charizard making a comeback!
Yeah, literally the same exact move.
How about that?
Same exact moves.
Rob Z curses. Now, Brick Break was not revealed yet, so you can kind of... That might just be... when I had Snorlax, I'm not bringing him in on anything defensive. Anything physically threatening. Because Snorlax's plays in its special defense, and you need to be safe to set up that Z Curse. And Rob does that probably the worst time. In retrospect, the worst time.
Yeah, like I said, he probably thought, that would save him. It probably wouldn't break the 50% even after a Dragon Dance because of how bulky Snorlax's HP is. Little did you know. No one ever expects Brick Charizard. You can't really fault Rob for that.
No, you're right. And these things can happen. But, again, there's folly in just leaving Snorlax in against something physically threatening.
Definitely correct.
In my mind. The only reason that Charizard died in the match, of course, was because of something that Rob should have done basically immediately, which is Mandibuzz has the Rocky Helmet. Early in the match, he's only at +1. He's not going to, if Brick Break and Flare Blitz are his only options and he's going to take damage every time, Rob might have the opportunity to Toxic, he might have the opportunity to do something other than just eat a Flare Blitz and die.
Yeah, there was not much thinking on that part.
I don't know. And as well, Rob wasted turns with Mesprit hitting rocks when something incredibly threatening is in your face, as well as hitting, in theory,
Right
this...
after Brick Break's been revealed.
Yeah, you hit Reflect after Brick Break's been revealed. You don't think about it at the time. Oh yeah, that's right, Brick Break, when it hits a screen, it does also, I believe, 1.5 times damage, I think.
Don't quote me on this. I don't think it's boosted.
It did more. The first time Mesprit got hit with it, it was like 36, and then it was 40-something. It could have been just a roll, but...
Maybe. I don't know.
I'd think that something special like that, hopefully we do more damage. It'd be neat anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, Murphy gets +5 here. Rob is now 0-5, and things do not look good for Homestar Runner for him.
Not at all. Sorry, I got distracted by the Homestar Runner.
I feel bad, but he's just gotta. That's just Rob. That's Rob.
Yeah.
He'll get a win. He'll get a win at some point. He always gets one. He always pulls out weird, stupid Tyrantrum shit and completely rolls you.
It was Aggron and.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Same thing. Head smash. Rocket head smash.
Yeah. Hits every time for some reason.
That's just the power of Rob.
Yeah.
All right, we got some trades and pickups to talk about. Now, speaking of Rob, actually, I mean, we'll get to him in a second here, but the first thing we're going to talk about, it does involve Rob technically. This card doesn't look terribly different, James's card here, but James's Smeargle is now off over into Rob land. Rob has Smeargle now. Hopefully he does something with it. Rob has Smeargle, which he gave up Mienshao for.
That doesn't seem like a really bad for either of them.
No, James is the one who initiated it. He wanted Mienshao. We've seen James with Mienshao before. What was it, Mario? Mienshao and Golbat together?
No, I think it was Raikou.
Raikou and Mienshao?
I feel like it was like a fast pivot team.
Well, he does
pivot potential on his team.
Right. I was gonna say, well, Vikavolt isn't necessarily fast, but it is pivot, or it can pivot. So...
I didn't know he got like.
Oh yeah, James got Vikavolt a few weeks ago.
No, I'm talking about like this is seasons ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see some of that. Maybe that will come into play here. But the one who made the big changes with 5 total changes, including that trade this week, is Rob, who Z captains are the same. Still got Snorlax, still got Gengar. Magearna is out. Magearna is a free agent, Mario.
Ew.
Somebody's going to be going for that shit. Rob picked up Celesteela for Magearna. First. That's the first thing.
All right.
He dropped Milotic. And in for that, Rob didn't have a Mega before, which is why I think Thomas thought that Rob had Mega Pinsir, because Rob just doesn't have a Mega. Until now, where he gets Mega Lopunny.
Oh, I like it.
The only other things are pretty much, Mesprit's gone. Mesprit... he got angry at Mesprit for what it didn't do in the match. So now Rob picked up Diancie, normal Diancie, which is... it could be good. If you get that defense boost from... not Power Gem, but whatever Diancie's version. Diamond Storm. There we are. That can definitely be good. And he dropped Gogoat, which is disappointing, for Lantern.
I don't know how I feel about Lantern. I'm not going to lie. I've seen it do work.
I feel like it depends on... Now, the thing I like about Lantern is, depending on what the bigger threat is, you can run Water Absorber, you can run Volt Absorb. Which is great. And other than that, he's just a bulky kind of boy, I guess. He's not got too many weaknesses. I mean, you've only got, what? Ground?
Grass Ground.
Grass Ground, yeah. Because he's got the Rotom Wash thing without Levitate. So the discountiest Rotom Wash there is, I guess.
Yeah, which Grass Ground, Celesteela.
Oh yeah, there we go. Celesteela can deal with Grass Ground very well. The only thing that I'm a little trepidatious about is Rob's... I shouldn't call Celesteela a defender, but I don't really know where the like dedicated special defender on this team is because Weezing is physical, Mandibuzz is physical, Celesteela's got 100 something all of its defenses, so it can be defensive if it wants to be.
Stats, bro.
What?
You ever see Diance's stats?
That's true. It's 150 in both, I think, actually. So, but a four times steel weakness could be a problem as well. Celesteela, you're right. Snorlax as well, good special D. So, I don't know if like big defense is good, but you need a look like if Shuckle had a recovery move, if Probopass had a recovery move, if Bastiodon had a recovery move, I feel like they'd be a little bit better.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Maybe Diancie gets Wish. Maybe I haven't looked at it close enough because I only had Mega Diancie, and that was 2 years ago.
I honestly don't know.
That's my only thing. I'm not great on defenders that don't have a recovery move, which thankfully Mandibuzz has Roost, but that's about all he's got going on.
No, and Snorlax is really good at rest.
You're gonna rack a pain split with Weezing if you're feeling saucy.
Yeah, I
can't say these changes were for the better, but we will see. I only wonder whom will pick up Magearna in. If it doesn't go this week, somebody's gonna fucking. It's tough. I think it might be tough when your entire team, like if you already have a good Psychic or Steel or a good Fairy or Steel type, it's gonna be tough to just justify getting Magearna.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point.
So, well, we'll see what happens with that here. Let's go ahead back over to the start screen because we've got to talk about the standings. Of course, Stadium and Snap stay the same because they didn't battle. Manny sitting pretty. Best win of the season with +3 at 5-0 +9.
Yep, hooray.
Now he is got the same amount of plus as 2 and 3 Murphy. Both of them at +9.
Perfect.
Congratulations. He has to deal with 2 people that are 4-1 plus. Well, technically, Garrison isn't on his side of the bracket for playoffs, so he doesn't have to worry about Garrison at least. But Tristan is still hot on his heels, 4-1 +17. But given the fact that Manny, there's a gap. Well, after this week there won't be as much of one, but it goes 5-0, 4-1, 2-2. So. Somebody will be 3-2 in Stadium after this week, but it's still Manny's not having. Even at 5-0, Manny doesn't have to panic. He's basically guaranteed a playoff spot at this point.
Yeah.
Gage and James, even though Gage lost terribly, they're still tied with James. Both of them at 1-4 +4.
Wow.
So there's a pretty big. There's now definitely James will have to worry because. Getting ahead of 4-1 Tristan is going to be a task and a half.
Yeah.
If the best he can finish is 5-4 when Stadium is all 2-2 right now, I mean it could end up with all of them being like 3-7 or we don't do 10 games, 3-6, 4-5. James has an opportunity. He could do it. Again, don't want to count him out. This could be the beginning of a great return. Just win after win after win after win, right to the finals.
Right to the finals, baby.
But we'll see.
Okay. Fingers crossed.
Thomas and Murphy now, both tied 2 and 3. Thomas at +7, Rob at 0-5 +0. We can probably count Rob out of playoffs at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah.
At the earliest possible time in the season. The Conference Cup. Not too much going on there. Coliseum got 3 from Manny's win. Troze got 4 from Thomas's win. Snap and Coliseum are tied going into week 6 here, where Snap has more opportunities to kind of pull ahead again. So we'll see what happens with that, because I think that's the race that we're looking at right now, unless Troze does something completely fucking bazonkers and pulls ahead. But we've got Coliseum and Snap at 11, Troze at 8. Stadium has 1 point. Their Conference Cup. We'll see. We'll see what happens this week. Their Conference Cup performance has not been great so far, is all I'll say. All I'm saying.
I know what that's like.
And finally, Mario, we have got the next week of battles, which means it is time for Commish Picks. And I didn't ask you about your Commish Picks beforehand, so I'm getting them live. We're doing it live. The first match we've got here is... it's not the first rematch, because Gage versus Tristan was the first rematch of the season, but one of the first rematches we've got here. Last time, M1 pulled past Dave thanks to Tyrantrum. Dave might be a little more prepared this time. Dave's in a weird spot where he's only had one win so far, and he's brought almost the same team every time, but hopefully the break has had him change up his strategy a bit. However, I still believe in my boy M1, and I'm taking M1.
I'll give it to M1.
All right, I like it.
I like Dave. I think he's got a good team, but I don't know. I feel like M1's got a really good team as well.
Manny chose Dave for this one. Next up, we've got Mitch versus Mike, a very important match for both of them because they're both vying for that second place spot in the Snap division here.
Hilarious.
I gotta go. Now, Mike likes to make the joke that you're the person sort of steering the ship for Mitch, if you will. But I think even if that were completely the case, I'm still taking Mike on this one.
I think it's going to end in a draw of both of them just complaining and bitching about the other.
That makes sense. Draw game.
Give me draw. It's going to end halfway with them just being dumb. Yelling at each other.
And our two Conference Cup games here, we've got reigning champion Dan. I don't want to say former champion because he's not been dethroned yet. Reigning champion Dan taking on newcomer Drac here. Drac has not steered me wrong so far. He has shown brightness in big spots here. I'm going to give it to Drac +2.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Drac +4.
Oh, +4! God damn, you're disrespecting the champ!
No, I'm sorry, champ. It's just Drac's really, really good.
And Manny is giving it...
match this week.
And Manny is giving it to Dan +2. So, finally we have Kyle is taking on the other newcomer, former champion Kyle, there we go, I could use it for him, taking on newcomer Jack, whom needs to bounce back. This has got to be a bounce back week for him, but Kyle is a force to be reckoned with. He, among the newcomers, the newer people, I should say, he's been around for 4 seasons at this point. He's almost a veteran. Is basically can be unstoppable when he needs to be. I'm taking Kyle +3.
Sign me up for the same.
All right, and Manny went with Kyle +4, so he's thinking it's going to be even better than that. So, as we go into the next week here, Mario, it is week 6. It is a bye week for everybody who just battled this week. They have a chance. Some people have a chance to catch their breath. They can take the time to watch these battles, see possible opponents. A lot of these, I think, well, I was going to say, a lot of these people are on, some of them are on the other side of the bracket, some of them are on their side of the bracket. Whatever, it didn't exactly work out that way. But they can see possible opponents. They can see how things are going to shake out on the other side of the bracket. They can see important Conference Cup matches. The battles themselves, very important to the people that are playing them, of course. Mario, going into week 6 here, is this the most important week of the season?
Yeah, okay.
All right, yeah, I sold you on it. That's the thing. I got to make sure that I let you know. I got to tell you the ways that this is going to be the most important week of the season, and this, by God, is the most important week of the season, especially for either Mike or Mitch. Honestly, this could be a maker. This, like, no joke this time, not going with the fucking stupid shit that we do. Whoever wins that match probably will get into playoffs. And keep in mind they do play each other again. They have not played each other so far, so maybe I'm wrong.
I'll be waiting for my phone call from Mitch at some point.
So with that, I think it's time we turn the page, close the book. This is week 5 over and done with Mario. The season is now officially half over as well. can you believe? Well, not counting playoffs. Regular season officially half over. So I think then...
fun.
So I think then as we finish up here... Oh, Murphy got in the chat just as we're in it right now! Goodbye! We're ending the broadcast.